want to start it off by telling you guys and giving you guys a number. 26%. That's the number that we're going to be talking about today. 26%. That is how many Americans right now have a favorable view of AI. 26%. That number is lower than Iran. That number is lower than Congress. That number is lower than the Democratic Party. I want you guys to let that sink in. Not a lot of people are favorable towards AI. Last week, that number stopped being a poll. Last Friday, early in the morning while we were having this show, a 20-year-old kid from Texas drove to San Francisco and threw a Molotov cocktail at the home of the CEO of OpenAI. 48 hours later, 2 more people arrested, firing a gun at the same house from a car. Same week, a city councilman in Indianapolis got home from a meeting, found 13 bullet holes in his front door on his lawn. There was a sign that had 2 words on it: no data centers. His crime? He voted to approve a data center. Today, y'all, I'm going to break down what this actually means for your career, because this is not a tech story. This is a workforce story. And the ladder climbers who understand the signal that this is sending are going to position themselves different by Monday morning. Let's go ahead and jump into the data, because this is going to be a good show for you guys. Let me give you 5 stories that hit the last 48 hours. Okay. Story number 1, TSMC. Yesterday morning, TSMC posted the biggest quarter in company history. Profit, $18.2 billion. In 3 months, up 58% year over year. 4th record quarter in a row. Here is what matters for you. They are hiring 8,000 new workers this year. 8,000. Engineers, technicians, facility operators, project managers. Where are they hiring at, Antoine? Because I want to know. I want to get part of that, become part of that 8,000 that works for TSMC. Where are they hiring at, Antoine? They're hiring in Arizona. The Arizona fabs in Phoenix alone have hundreds of open jobs right now. And listen to this. TSMC is running a free training program with Grand Canyon University. You do not need a 4-year degree. You do not need a tech background. Starting salaries, $55,000 to $75,000 with full benefits. I want you guys to type CHIP in the chat if you are in Arizona, Texas, or Ohio states where these fabs are expanding. They was talking about manufacturing coming back to the United States. Guess what? You have one of the biggest companies, sleeper companies. Not many people know about TSMC, but they are, I would almost say, the oil to this AI industry. They are the ones who are making the chips. They got the tools that helps the chips to be built. TSMC is a powerhouse, and we're bringing that manufacturing back here to the United States. It's a good story. It's a very good story, because if we don't, it would be a supply chain risk, especially towards technology. The anger I talked about in the cold open. 3 attacks last week. Sam Altman's house in San Francisco. Somebody threw a Molotov cocktail. I can even barely say the word Molotov cocktail. I know what that is. It's like when you put, a little bit of liquid in a jar or something, or liquid in a soda bottle, Coke bottle, and throw it, and it just explodes. Next you know, there's fire everywhere. So a Molotov cocktail, then gunfire. A city councilman's house in Indianapolis. 13 shots. Bow, 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 bow. Sign on the lawn. No data centers on the lawn. 2 senators filed a bill this week. A nationwide moratorium on data center construction. The state of Maine moving to become the first state in the country to ban data centers outright. This is not going away. This is policy now. So we are going to go deep on what this means in segment 2. Just wanted to catch you guys up though. Okay. Now you know what's going on in the world around you. Let's go over to the geopolitical side. Story number 5, oil. Because many of you guys are complaining about the gas pumps being high and how this economy is terrible and how everything is more expensive. Well, let's talk about the oil. All right. The Iran ceasefire expires on Tuesday, April the 21st. Brent crude closed at $98 a barrel yesterday, down from 120 at the peak of the war. The president said on yesterday, the war should be ending pretty soon. Yeah, I love that. Those are some Good sounding words to me. Second round talks expected this weekend. But I want you guys to listen closely on this one. Energy experts warned on yesterday. The physical oil market is getting tighter every day. Even with the ceasefire in place, 13 million barrels per day of global supply is still disrupted. This matters because oil is the single most important number on your career radar for the next 60 days. We are coming back to that in segment 4, okay? I want you guys to type drill in the chat. If you work in energy, defense, or logistics, the oil shock is hitting right now. Type drill in the chat. Or if you know somebody who works in those industries, type drill in the chat, okay? Now, before we go deeper, I need you to do something, okay? And if you're not ready to invest yet, start here. The 2026 Career Protection Playbook is absolutely free, okay? It is absolutely free. I built this because of everything that we just talked about. TSMC hiring the 8,000 employees, Netflix founder walking out the door, entry-level hiring down 6%, anti-AI attacks hitting the news, oil ceasefire expiring on Tuesday. Your risk zone because of all of this is real. And I put together a guide to help you figure out where you stand. And inside the playbook, you find out your risk zone for AI automation. Are you in danger or are you positioned to benefit? You get the 5 skills that actually matter in 2026, okay? 5 skills, the ones that the data says employers are paying for right now. You get a 30-day quick start action plan, day by day, what to do, what to learn, what to apply for. You get a weekend action plan with 5 specific moves this Saturday and Sunday, okay, that you can make. And you get the Daily Climb newsletter sent to you at 11:30 a.m. Central, Monday through Friday. Everything that we cover on the show in your inbox every single weekday. I say this all the time. The professionals who survive 2026, they are not waiting for permission. They are building career insurance right now. That is nextgenheights.com/playbook. Link is in the description, $0. So you have no excuse not to pick it up. Okay, let's go to segment 2. We're going to go a little bit deeper into what's going on with a group of people who are just not liking this whole AI thing. People are getting angry. Let me show you why those 5 stories are connected that we just talked about. Okay, let me play a video for you guys real quick.
Tonight, authorities say these surveillance images capture suspect Daniel Moreno Gama. Clutching a flaming Molotov cocktail, he's accused of hurling at the California home of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman.
This was not spontaneous. This was planned, targeted, and extremely serious.
Federal agents raiding a home outside Houston early this morning where the FBI says Moreno Gama lived. He's now charged with attempted murder and possession of a deadly weapon. Authorities say the 20-year-old traveled from Texas to California and launched his attack on Altman's residence around 3:37 a.m. last Friday, catching a driveway gate on fire. The criminal complaint going further, sharing he then traveled to OpenAI's San Francisco headquarters, where around 5 a.m., Moreno Gama retrieved a chair and used it to strike the glass doors, and according to security personnel on site, stated he was there to burn it down and kill anyone inside.
Wow, 20 years old, traveling from Texas to San Francisco. That must be a long drive, ain't it? Built up a whole bunch of anger in that drive. Just wanted to do something reckless. Now, why is he doing this? Let's look at this one, this video right here.
From data center bans to plummeting public perception, AI companies are facing increasing backlash ahead of what could be historic public debuts. Kate Rooney has more on today's Tech Check on data centers and AI. Kate.
Hey, Dom. So the mood around this technology is increasingly negative. Investors do see that as a real threat as OpenAI and Anthropic especially look to go public. Plus, you've got big tech, which does plan to spend hundreds of billions of dollars just this year on that data center build out. The latest signal, an attack on OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. A man is now facing attempted murder charges after throwing a Molotov cocktail at Altman's San Francisco home. Prosecutors say it was motivated by a hatred of AI. Altman did respond to this over the weekend, acknowledging anti-technology sentiments. He says, clearly, this technology isn't good for everyone. He and Anthropic CEO are among those in tech that have warned of widespread unemployment and some social unrest as this technology really takes off. Feelings, though, around AI do appear to be getting worse nationwide. You've got recent polls from both NBC News and Quinnipiac, showing more than half of Americans now say the risk of AI outweighs the benefit. The tech, they say, or at least according to these polls, will do more harm than good.
Wow. 20-year-old traveling, whole group of people, United States, saying that AI is not so good. Let me give you the analyst frame on this one, okay? A poll came out in March, all right? Only 26% of American voters have a favorable view of AI. That is lower than the Democratic Party, lower than Iran, lower than Congress. But the number that should stop you pretty cold is this. Generation Z, enthusiasm for AI dropped from 36% to 22% in 1 year. Generation Z, anger at AI jumped 22% to 31% in the same year. Let me translate that for y'all. The generation that grew up on technology, the generation that was supposed to be the most AI friendly, that generation now has a net negative view of AI by 44 percentage points. And those are the same people trying to get their first job right now. Those are the same people that their mom and dad is saying, get out of the house and do something with yourself. Those are the same people who've been told you're not going to be able to buy a house. You can't afford anything. You went to school and got these degrees, and guess what? You can't find a job. Those are the same people that feel fooled right now. They're not listening to anything that came before them. Because here's the thing, everything that they did, they followed the rules of what they were told to do. Now it's completely backfiring on them. So why would they listen? Why would they have a good view? They're not happy. That's a whole generation of young boys and young women that don't have a favorable view towards the technology that is supposed to be leading the charter in the United States. It's going to be an interesting story, guys. That's just the data. That's what the data is saying. And this is what I've been calling the two economies for a year now. This is what I've been saying about the word bifurcation for a whole year now. One side, you got the builder economy. The builder economy is winning because they're using AI. They're building AI systems. They have AI chips, AI infrastructure, AI agents. Stock prices at an all-time highs, crushing it. If you invested in any sort of AI technology, any sort of these technology companies right now, you're doing pretty well. Now, if you're in SaaS itself, not this year anyway, okay? But some of the AI infrastructure companies, you're crushing it. Stock prices at all-time highs. Venture capital poured $300 billion into AI in Q1 alone. On the other side, you got the coordinator side, okay? The coordinator economy is the middle layer. The assistants, the analysts, the coordinators, the entry-level workers who used to do research, the drafts, the summaries, the scheduling. AI replaced their work. And now they are watching the people who built the AI that replaced them collect $200 million stock packages, getting paid $600,000 while they cannot land an interview. That is the anger, guys. And that is what showed up on Sam Altman's lawn with a Molotov cocktail. That is what showed up on a councilman's door with 13 bullet holes. Now here's the hard part. The rage is understandable, but rage is not a career strategy, guys. It's not. I want you guys to type builder if you already know which side of the line that you need to be on. Type builder in the chat, okay? Let me give you the macro warning. I want to give you guys the macro warning on this one. We'll go to a quick video.
Joining us now for more on the markets, Mohamed El-Erian, professor at the Wharton School and Allianz chief economist. Mohamed, always great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So, I mean, if you take a look at the bond market, the cues there seem to be shifting to a concern about growth, concern about longer inflation. Where do you stand on all of this?
So I do think we're going from a price shock to a price shock and a demand shock. And that's the economic logic of all these tipping points that are being triggered in the war. I must say I'm more worried than the average. I'm more worried than the average because of the dynamics of the war. It's an asymmetrical war. You have 3 parties, now 4 parties, all of whom believe they're winning, which makes it very hard to end this war. And the US is the only one that can declare victory but can't impose outcomes. And I also look at the economy, and I'm starting to see demand destruction that can accumulate. And if you go to Asia, they're not just worried about higher oil prices. They're worried about actual physical shortages.
Right.
And that is another tipping point for the global economy. So in general, I've gone from reduced risk to maximum risk off to now a few names look attractive, but I would not be going into the market and buying the index at this juncture.
When you talk about demand destruction, Asia is talking about shortages. Demand destruction is happening elsewhere outside of the United States. We might be a long ways off from demand destruction. So how insulated can our economy remain, even if elsewhere in the world there is sort of this greater impact?
So we win in relative terms under virtually any war scenarios.
But relative terms don't mean that much to the average consumer or to the markets, maybe.
Right.
I'll pause it right there. A former deputy director of the IMF, Wharton professor, dropped the warning this week. He said virtually every challenge facing the global economy is going to get worse if this war continues. The IMF cut their global growth forecast from 3.3% to 3.1%. They warn if the war drags on, growth could fall all the way to 2% and inflation could exceed 6%. Another Wharton professor said this on his commentary this week. Higher oil, higher diesel, higher fertilizer are going to work their way into freight, into shipping, into airfares, and a broad range of goods prices. And that's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 months. That is the squeeze. So you got to think about it. You have a whole bunch of people not making money, prices of things going up. A whole bunch more people are going to be like Generation Z pretty soon, especially if these layoffs continue to happen. And you remember when I told you guys on yesterday that the ground beef went up? Highest prices since 1984. Ground beef is at $6.70 a pound. Highest since 1984. Your Memorial Day cookout is going to cost more than ever. Memorial Day is around the corner. You guys like to eat your beef hot dogs? You like to cook your steaks? I love the grill. I love some picanha. I love ribeye, okay? I love it all. But I know one thing, it's going to hurt the pockets. It's really going to hurt the pockets. I want you guys to type squeeze in the chat.